It began on a quiet Friday evening when the rain tapped against the windows like a whisper too soft to hear, and my girlfriend had left earlier that morning on a trip with her friends. Her smile was hurried, her goodbye distracted, but her mother lingered in the doorway watching her daughter leave and then slowly turned to me with eyes that held more silence than words. The house felt too big without her, but her mother moved through it with an ease that made it feel full again. She asked if I was hungry, she made tea. She sat across from me on the couch and asked about work, about my writing, about things her daughter never seemed to remember. She laughed at my dry jokes, touched my hand when the lightning cracked too loud, and said she never liked thunder either. We talked until midnight when the storm passed and the house was just us and the space between us no longer felt. So wide I stood to leave, but she caught my arm gently, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. And she said she had always wondered if someone would ever really see her, not just as a mother, not just as someone's wife or shadow, but as a woman. My breath caught, and I looked at her, then really looked and saw that same longing that I'd once seen in her daughter before it had faded with time. She stepped closer, her fingers trailing up my chest, her lips parting, but not speaking, not needing to, because the look in her eyes said it all. She kissed me, and the world blurred. The kiss didn't feel wrong. It felt overdue, like something neither of us dared to want until it was suddenly there and impossible to ignore. She whispered that she had watched me, watched how gentle I was, how patient, how I looked at her with more kindness than she had felt in years, and I didn't pull away. The couch gave way beneath us, the night wrapped around us, and everything felt like a confession in skin and breath and trembling hands. No one called, no one knocked. The only sound was her voice saying my name like she had been holding it in for years, and I held her like I never wanted to let her go. The morning was golden light and tangled sheets, and her head resting on my chest like it belonged there, and I traced lazy lines on her back as she breathed slow and safe. We didn't speak much because there was no regret in her eyes, only something that looked too much like peace. I made breakfast barefoot in one of my shirts, and I watched her move like she had done this before, like she belonged in that space with Mesh. Sat close, her leg brushing mine, and finally said that she had never felt chosen, never felt like someone would pick her for who she really was and not the roles she felt. And I told her the truth, that I had never felt so seen. My girlfriend texted to say she would be back late Sunday, and her mother read it and nodded, but didn't flinch, didn't pretend to be surprised. We spent the weekend like time had stopped, like the world couldn't touch us. And on Sunday afternoon, as I packed to leave, she held my hand and said what her daughter never did, that I made her feel alive, that she wished things were different, that if I ever needed a place where I could be fully wanted, not just needed or tolerated, but deeply wanted, I would know where to find. Harry kissed her once more before walking out the door, not with shame, but with something achingly tender. My girlfriend returned, and things felt distant. Her kisses distracted, her eyes elsewhere, and in my mind kept hearing her mother's voice, her soft confessions echoing in places my girlfriend never reached. Tweaks past then, a message came, just her mother's name, and the word Zai meant every word I said on. I replied, so did I?